I gotta be honest with you guys. I have lost count of how many times that I see comments on my videos where I might be sharing a portion of my fragrance collection that say, Justin, won't those go bad after a little while? Don't colognes expire? The simple answer is, yeah, there is not a single man-made product on earth that is absolutely indestructible. Everything eventually breaks down, whether it takes decades or even hundreds of years. In fact, the only true indestructible element in the universe is energy. Now, the warning you will find on most mass-marketed fragrance products will tell you that you usually have up to 36 months or 3 years after spraying the fragrance before it may start to go bad. Is this true? If it was true, then this would be the end of the video. But it's yes and no. To put it simply, the more exposure to sunlight, heat, humidity changes, and oxygen that a fragrance has, the more quickly it will break down. Now, as you could imagine, directly combating these elements can definitely elongate the life of a fragrance. This equates to keeping your fragrances in a dark, cool, and dry environment, which will extend the shelf life. However, in terms of the oxygen piece, there's not much you can do there. Unless you decide to never spray your fragrances and keep them sealed, in which case they can last a very long time. Most of us are going to get a new fragrance and spray it. As soon as you do, oxygenation has begun. But a fragrance's durability can also be dependent on its concentration, the quality of its bottling, and its ingredients. Let's touch on each one of those aspects. Now, in terms of concentration, generally speaking, the higher the concentration, the slower the degradation of the ingredients. But there's some nuance to that, which we'll cover when we talk about the ingredients. In terms of the bottle, let's face it, not all fragrance bottles are created equally. Some companies bottle their perfumes with much higher quality and more durable materials. For example, among many other great perfume makers, Argos Fragrances uses glass dip tubes and a metal atomizing ball, as opposed to plastic dip tubes and a plastic ball. If you didn't know, the ball at the top of the dip tube is a mechanism that basically allows the liquid and the air to mix, creating the atomized mist. In addition to using a metal nozzle, they do this to minimize the perfume's contact with plastic. And that's because plastic degrades faster than metal and therefore can affect the perfume more quickly. Now, in terms of ingredients, here's the truth. The more natural ingredients that a perfume has, the quicker it will break down. And that's because natural ingredients are more prone to degradation by way of the environmental factors we discussed earlier. On the contrary, synthetic ingredients tend to have a longer shelf life because their compounds, the chemical compounds, just tend to be more stable. And here's a funny thing you see here and there. I know there's many of you guys who have seen many people talk about refrigerating your fragrances in order to make them last longer. And maybe some of you guys have kind of adopted this practice as your own in effort to preserve your fragrances. However, while a cold temperature does slow the degradation process, the fluctuations in temperature and humidity may actually do more harm than good. Even taking a bottle out of the fridge for a moment, spraying it and replacing it can create a change in temperature and humidity, and doing that over and over time, you get the idea. The best place to store your fragrances is still by far a drawer, some kind of closet, or a cabinet where it will be dark, cool, and dry. So the question is, for how long can a well-packaged, well-stored fragrance last? Well, technically, decades. Now, just because a fragrance starts to break down doesn't mean it's going bad. Now, what this does mean is that the scent will likely change over time as certain ingredients in the composition start to disappear. Now, sometimes this is for the betterment of the scent, sometimes it's not. That's going to depend on your taste. Now, some perfumes seem to become even stronger and or more noticeable with time. And I think a lot of you guys have experienced this before, when you have a bottle that sits around maybe from 6 months without being sprayed up to even a few years. And this is because alcohol evaporates, and as it does, it leaves behind a more concentrated perfume oil blend. However, if you start to notice an unpleasant smell, some kind of irritation or allergic reaction that you didn't get before, maybe even a slightly metallic scent that wasn't there before, then that could be a sign that your fragrance has indeed gone bad, in which case, time to dispose of it. because it's not getting any better. Again, depending on all the variables we covered, this could happen quickly or slowly. And just to share a little example with you from my collection, my oldest bottle in my collection is YSL L'Homme. I bought this bottle in the summer of 2016. This was the first designer fragrance I ever purchased, trying it in a store, buying it right then and there, taking it home. It is now the fall of 2024 when I'm filming this video. And you're asking, well, how does it smell, Justin? Has it changed at all? It's been 8 years. Still smells amazing. Maybe it's even gotten a little bit more rich. Love this stuff. That's 8 years. Now, I have kept good care of it, mostly keeping it in the dark in a cool place away from humidity changes. So taking care of your fragrances can pay off. I'm going to link to all my sources down in the description because I am not an expert. I did the research just like you could have done it, but I decided to put it in a video to present it to you in hopefully a more entertaining way than just going on the internet and reading about it. So I want to know what you think of this topic down in the comments. Is this something you've had a problem with in the past? Have you actually had a fragrance go bad, and can you track what may have caused it to do that? Or did you do everything right and it still didn't work out? Let's talk about it down below. And thank you so much for tuning in. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.